welcome to Quick Take. I'm your host, Susie Tomanchuk, along with James Capps. How are you, James?
I am fantastic. How are you today, Susie?
We're not just better today together, but we have a special guest. So tell us about our
That's
guest.
right. Oh, I'm so excited. Dear friend of mine, Dev Ashish. He is the CTO with Clear Choice Dental Implant Centers. Dave and I have been friends for a while and been spending a lot of time talking about some really cool topics around leadership and how we look at leading people. And so I'm so excited to have you here today, Dave. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got to be the great guy you are today? No
Thank
pressure.
you, James.
You got to end on the high note there. It's got to be, with a big win.
Thank you, James. That's very kind of you. Very kind of you. No, I've been in the world of technology, healthcare technology, healthcare operations now for about 22 years, give or take, and I've been very lucky. I've been blessed, actually. All four of my career stops have been in very high growth companies. I sometimes joke my first company that I joined them, they were around 650 people when I joined in Wisconsin, and over my 10 years there, in spite of me, they grew to 10,000 people. Right?
Wow.
So I really got the opportunity to learn about building teams and being more process oriented and leadership because they really were hiring fresh graduates out of schools and all of that, right? So really had the opportunity to learn there and have since had beautiful opportunities to hone my skills in 3 other organizations. And now, as you mentioned, I am the technology leader here at Clear Choice. We've got 100 centers spread across the country doing some pretty cool things in transforming patient lives and giving them hope as they may have fallen outside the world of dentistry and all of those things. But thanks again for having me here, Susie and James. It's such an honor to be talking shop with you folks.
Did you hear that? It's an honor. I love that.
I know. I slipped him $5 behind the screen here. But one of the things that we thought we'd talk about today was a little bit about your perspective on leadership and not necessarily the challenges at your individual location, but how you think about leadership. And I think you said it so well as we were getting ready for this fight. What are the things you would tell your kids? How would you help them see what it takes to be a leader? And we have the patented 3 bonus system here where we're going to provide 3 actionable nuggets for our listeners, for our quicksters. And I'd love to hear what you'd like to offer in that space.
Sure. Yeah. Leadership is such a big one, right? We can read all sorts of books. We can have all sorts of idols and all of those things, right? For me, when I think about the 3 things, and it's hard to distill it down to 3, but let's take a shot at it at least, right? I think the first one I'd say, James, is really being intellectually curious, right? I think intellectually curious, having the growth mindset, right? Satya Nadella of Microsoft, right? I think he's the first one who really came out and said, hey, I don't want to be a know-it-all. I want to be a learn-it-all, right? And that to me is so key, right? Is how do we think about having the curiosity to understand business, not just technology, not just one thing, but really understanding how things are fitting in? Because one thing for me as a technology leader is it really is the business outcomes that fascinate me, that I want to go chase, not just technology for technology's sake, right? So that's what I think in terms of intellectual curiosity. And what I'd say again there is, in some ways, I think corporate America has created this problem where a lot of our people think that, hey, I've been in this role for 3 years, 4 years. Now I got to take that next step up. And now I've been in this role for another 3 years. I got to take that next step up. And I don't agree with that concept of only vertical growth. I think growth can come in many different shapes and forms. I think horizontal growth, learning different areas. Okay, now I know this piece of my business or whatever. How can I as a technology leader now go learn more about operations? How can I go learn more about the sales engine or something else, right? So even for leaders, even in the C-suite, I'd make the case that we should be thinking horizontal and learning more. Because then actually that also makes us better leaders for our own function too, right? So I
it really does.
Think about growth and intellectual curiosity in that capacity, right? So that to me is very important. I mean, a different framework I take even is the advent of AI now, right? Like, hey, do I now create a different function? Somebody head of AI? I don't necessarily think so. I'd rather have the existing folks that are there and have them
Learning
be
Yeah.
about that.
exactly
Yep.
right,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
learning, experimenting. I think that's key.
Yeah, I can't help but think about my career and my, I was definitely jumping from industry to industry. I went from aerospace to cable to financial services, and yeah, there was that curiosity about how
Mhm.
technology could be applied in different ecosystems, and yeah, I think that's such good advice for leaders, for your children, for students, just for humans. I
Mhm.
think that when you stop learning as a person, when you start wondering why things aren't exactly like you think they are, you're going to struggle. And I think whether it's learning how to do something new in Java, whether it's learning about AI, I think having a team who is ready to respond and grow and think about things in different ways is it's just a really great piece of advice.
Yeah, and it's not, you also said too, it's not going up. It's not a ladder, it's a jungle
Mm-hmm.
gym. I don't know
Right.
if, that people even know what that is anymore, but that we as leaders think there's a book to read or something, but it really is getting curious
Mm-hmm.
and being courageous enough to be
Mm-hmm.
curious is
Yep.
what I love about that.
Well, so often I give people advice. In fact, I was coaching something this morning. I'm saying, look, that you have to realize as a leader, your boss has a lot of things that need to get done. And if you can just use curiosity and interest to fill the void, just
Yeah.
I'll go do this. Is it my job? I don't know. Who's doing it? I don't know. Let me explore. That type of
Yeah.
wide-eyed enthusiasm is how you grow in your career. And I think that's just a great way for people to stay motivated and to really solve the problems that companies have today. All right, Dave, that's a great first one. What's our second one?
Ooh. The second one is a little bit of a personal story. This happened to me. I was in a board meeting and a question got asked of me like, hey, can we do this? And I, stupid old me, right, said, no, because this, right? And the board member kind of right there in the meeting said, Dave, I think I'm hearing you say yes, if we can solve for this, and this. And I was like, yes, she's spot on. The board member was spot on, and I came back and I literally wrote it on my whiteboard. Yes, if, and then I crossed out no because, right? And I think that lesson is whether it's leadership. I think you talked about even tackling new things with wide-eyed enthusiasm, right? I think it applies in all settings. It's not just about leadership. It really is about taking on new things sometimes, or when an organization has a new project or there's a new priority and all of those things, and really being able to say, yes, we can go build this. Yes, we can go do this if we can reprioritize, or if we can remove this barrier, or if I had additional staffing, or if I had an extra $1 million, whatever, right? I don't know the answer, but I think sometimes we fall into the trap of, hey, we can't do this. And we have a litany of reasons, and they're good reasons. I'm not saying they're not good reasons, right? But I think it's the mindset shift sometimes that I love for, and sometimes I'm still guilty of it, right? Like, look, I have it written on my whiteboard, but I'm still guilty of it. Being able to see the forest from the trees sometimes, right? But that's one lesson that has stuck with me is trying to differentiate between the yes if versus the no because.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's really the offensive response versus let me say that differently, not an offensive response, but you're responding with on offense versus defense, right? And you're saying, hey, I want to solve this versus, hey, we can't solve that. And I think just that language shift, and if you can infect your people with that language shift, really changes the way people react to problems, the way people work together, creates a group that is interested in your first one, which is being curious. Yes, if we can solve these things that I don't know anything about. And so they go really well together. But I do love that idea of just looking for ways to solve it versus ways that stop us from solving it.
Yeah. It's like making the default yes.
Right.
So that you do have, sometimes we don't know. And sometimes we don't want to go into solutioning necessarily right away, but
Right.
make that default, yes, let's move forward. And that provides like a perception of you that you are somebody that is solution oriented, because you also don't want to get a reputation that you are the one that always brings up the barriers. People don't like to work with leaders like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
when you're in a conversation, I can assume that that board member that you interacted with very maturely and very had a great perspective of hearing what you were saying and then also helping you say it in a way that was more appropriate. But many people would take that no in a way that would just end the conversation, which would reflect back on you very negatively and immediately be, that die is cast. And I think that, I coach a lot of people on that very thing. My boss came to me with a thing. I don't know if I can do it. I don't care. The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. I know somebody I was coaching somebody that you brought to me recently, Susie, about a challenge that they were having at their place. And my answer was like, no, you've got it. It's always yes. You can bring back the reasons why it's hard later. Right.
Yeah.
But if you say, no, I'm not really sure, let me get back to you in 2 weeks, they're going to find somebody else.
Yeah.
So you've got to have that mindset.
And then the opportunities passed you by. I think you said it very well too, Susie, right? The reputation, right? You don't want, as a leader in any organization, you don't want to have a reputation that, hey, if I take this to John's just going to give me the reasons why it can't be done, right? Like you want to have the reputation that John's going to help me figure it out. Right. Totally. All right, Dave. Well, give me your third nugget. These are two good ones already. I feel like we could wrap right now, but let's get that third one in. I've already earned the $5 that you slipped behind the screen. That's exactly right. You've earned it, then some. Excellent. Well, the third one I'd say, James, for me is really around the people. Right. Look, as a leader, our success is so much dependent on our own teams. Right? We have to figure out a way how to connect with our people, how to connect our people with the mission of the organization, with the mission of or the why of the project. Right? I think both of them. To me, I'm lucky enough to be working in a mission-oriented organization, and it's very easy for me when I'm feeling down to see like, okay, why does the mission matter, and how does this help with the overall mission? How does this help me affect change in more patients' lives and all of those things, right? So being mission-oriented and being able to tie any incoming body of work to that mission, but even more so, being able to understand my people ideally and being able to say, how does this tie in with their own value system, right? Like my personal values, if you'll let me talk about that, right? Like I'm big on accountability and collaboration, right? Accountability to me is get shit done, and collaboration is, hey, if you wanna walk fast, you walk alone. If you wanna walk far, you walk together, right? In large organizations, often it does come about you want to walk far while not necessarily sacrificing speed. There is that fine-tuning balance of all of those things, right? But really taking, some of my team members may have the core values of creativity and resourcefulness. Okay, how can I take this project that's coming in and how can I tie it into John's value system of creativity and resourcefulness, and then get him motivated to go chase it, right? The word motivation is also a funny one. I was taught a long time ago, somebody said to me, hey, how do I motivate my people? Motivation is internal. Motivation is intrinsic, right? Like, sure, you can have external rewards and all of those things, but it really is an intrinsic, only I can motivate myself. Right? I agree. And that to me does boil down to the values, being able to tie into the why of things, of the company, of the project, and then helping people see why they want to do this. So really connecting with the people and connecting them overall to the mission is what I'd say is going to determine any leader's success. I had the good fortune of meeting with you at your facility a while back and met a bunch of your staff and met folks of varying functions, whether it was some of the medical professionals, whether the administrative professionals.
The consistency of the passion of the mission was ubiquitous, and it was very much like that classic line where Kennedy talked to somebody and when they were launching the Apollo mission, and he went to the janitor and said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Well, I'm putting a man on the moon." And I felt like that's what I was experiencing at your place, where every person was, I'm changing people's lives by scheduling appointments. I am changing people's lives by scanning their teeth. I am changing people's lives by fitting them with new implants that allow them to do X, Y, and Z. And so it was always that real mission. And I think, it's great when a leadership team and your leadership team can get everybody together, show them what they are doing and how that leads to the mission. And that takes your organization to a completely different level. And I think you're certainly walking the walk over there at ClearChoice. So congrats for that. It's just really great to see.
Yeah. And that can be so hard to do. So that's great
so
that
hard.
You saw it, James.
It was at first I thought it was maybe there were chips implanted or some sort of cult was going on. And but after a while, these were normal people. They weren't Stepford wives or anything, but it's just, and it's infectious too. I mean, it's a life-changing medical treatment. And I think that that's just really great. And I think, when you are able to sit down with your folks, your employees, and have them appreciate that mission and message, it makes everything else, that much more connected to what they do every day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So good. All right, James. Now the question is, can you give us the three?
Can I bring them together?
Your own words, yes.
In my own words. So these are just so good, though. I mean, they're things that I'm taking notes here just so I can remember them. But obviously, the first one, let's remain intellectually curious. Always find the adventure in what you're doing and trying to learn, whether it's vertically, horizontally. Maintain that curiosity. Secondarily, it's the yes if. Always lead with the positivity of that it can be done. Of course, there are challenges, but when you start with the yes if instead of the no but or the no because, you're going to get people's more buy-in. You're going to have a better reputation, and it's going to change the way you and others think. Then finally, connect with people where they are. Help them understand the message. Help them understand the message, the mission. And when you, as a leader, can connect with folks, you're going to find that they're going to follow you, and you can follow them, and everybody is going to be moving in the same direction. And I think that's a great one.
Wow, that's gold.
I think James did a better job of encapsulating all three of them than I did. So thank you, James.
No. Those were, I think, just your application of that and the way that you describe it is just it's really great.
Yeah, definitely quotable. Thank you for your wisdom. It's great to meet you, Dave.
Likewise, Susie. Likewise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dave. It was really fun to have you here today. I appreciate your insights.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. And again, I appreciate the honor and looking forward to continuing our conversations on related topics, James and Susie.
I look forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you.